Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Battlebit podcast. Today we're doing a remake episode because YouTube likes to take down our shit, and so I thought the topic could be censorship. Nice little spicy little topic for us today, boys. I think the first place to start, I wanted to split up in two parts: bad censorship, good censorship. Because I think there's a little bit of discussion to be had about both. So we're going to start with good. And I think one of the things you got to realize is you make any sort of online open forum platform, unless you just want it to be fucking porn and gore and like live leak shit, you're going to need some censorship.
Drop the road.
Yeah, also for criminals, if you don't want criminals just havocing your website. Using that shit for the most evilish of purposes, the most devilish and creative and organized of purposes. You're going to need what I like to call, that was perfect, what I like to call fucking censorship. Now, fucking censorship is different from censorship in the sense that censorship is done mainly by those who do not like others' opinions, but fucking censorship is done by those who need to censor something because it can hurt brand or business. Now, hate speech and all that other stuff needs to it, but porn and gore is probably like the number one things you're trying to keep off of sites, especially because you don't want to be seen as a free speech site and then get completely taken over, or have the only places where you can speak freely be porn or say fucking gore websites. You don't want those to become the only place you can speak freely. Give me a second. I got a Discord from somebody. I'm gonna check something. Let's see if we got an extra person hopping in. Okay, he doesn't say anything about wanting to hop in, so that's good. Then also today's podcast, I think we're going to keep it just a single episode. Just a single episode today. I don't or just a single hour today. We're not going to go to 2 hours just because it's a remake episode. I don't have a lot to talk about on this topic. I just want to throw out some shit about censorship, about how YouTube might be able to improve their system, and just kind of get it off my chest, replace the number 5. And then my goal is we can start next Tuesday with some Roman history or some Roman Empire history. Just kind of talking about history around the Roman Empire, maybe some of the shit and how it went from being like the crucifier of Jesus to becoming the Holy Roman Empire. That seems like a little bit of an interesting topic. But I just like Roman history and Christian history that ties into Roman stuff in general. So that's probably what I'm going to research and do over the next week. And we might start doing these once a week so that I actually have like a week to prepare and research for the podcast. Because I'm going to want to, now that I've done the first 10, like I said, from here on out, I kind of want to start doing more research for the podcast. But if I'm able to get my research in early, I'll probably wind up doing the podcast early. Now back to censorship. You do want to get rid of hate speech and all that stuff to a certain extent. Because you're gonna, hey man, I got a bomb. Just drop me anywhere. I can suicide bomb on top of them.
Hello guys.
So you're gonna always have to deal with censoring certain things. But I think like the problem with hate speech is there's no clearly defined rules. Most platforms keep like things like hate speech or other certain, I guess, periods of their Oh, that was beautiful. Oh, I can't. Oh, that was okay. Look. Oh, that stopped my heart a bit. That was almost cinematic. Okay. I'm sorry. That was just beautiful. That was gorgeous. I'm very proud of that in the pilot, and I'm very happy. And I didn't mean to do this, but you're gonna want to censor hate speech to an extent. I can't explode it here. That's great. You're going to want to censor that to an extent, but the problem is again, they like to keep these things vague so that way they can enforce them the way they want. And enforcing, having an arbitrary rule that you can enforce one way or the other, however you see fit, is really just another way of saying I'm an authoritarian ass. It's not really it's not really justifiable, and it's probably the biggest problem we have with most of the platforms is they purposely keep their thing vague and they're allowed to. Which I mean, I think they should still be allowed to. I think it's just us, the people, that need to request, hey, you should have your shit more advisable, or maybe somebody can do a court case that makes it so they have to be more specific because you can't really tell what's being enforced. But I don't know if I'm not a lawyer, so I wouldn't know if that's legally viable as an option. Now, what I do know is, as in general, there are other ways to work out the censorship. I think censoring overt things, like straight racism or racial group hate, maybe even hate on other bases as well, like sexual orientation, or on I guess personal beliefs is another form of discrimination. You're gonna want to obviously get rid of the crazy shit there, but the problem comes in when you when you have stuff that isn't necessarily actually hate, and the way you kind of specific out these rules, maybe you let some of the stuff that you personally wouldn't want to go, but it's not necessarily towards a group or towards a people. It's not even really hate. Like, I think one of the things that might have gotten me on that episode is that I said that New Orleans was built in a stupid spot, which it fucking is. If this gets me bad again, then we'll know. But, I mean, I'm allowed to say New Orleans is built in a fucking stupid area. Like, it's stupid to build there. Build in the middle of a fucking swamp. Okay, you clear out a swamp and build in the middle of a swamp. It's not very fucking intelligent. Sounds like a flood waiting to fucking happen. Doesn't sound like a fucking smart idea now when we have all the other bullshit going on there. But it's just like, really. I can't say that I think where we build cities is kind of dumb sometimes and poorly thought out. Then we have a problem. And it's also the same. Fucking well. You live in a city that built there. You have to deal with the outcomes. You can't just sit here and scream. You can't sit here and scream that like somebody 3 cities over has to change their whole lifestyle for you because your city's now having a problem. Like, if I'm having a crime issue here in my city, I'm not gonna blame fucking somewhere across the fucking country for my city's problems. So it's like when we deal with something like that sort of topic we were talking about, you're gonna have disparaging problems. I was supposed to say, is there 2 tanks there? I don't even know you can have a tank on this map. But you're gonna have like disparaging problems depending on where you live because it's an environmental issue. So the fucking idea that I can't say, hey, where you live environmentally is pretty fucking stupid and turned out to be very poor planning on the part of humans. If that turns out to be hate speech, if that's what YouTube considers hate speech, there you go. That's stupid. That is very arbitrary, very personal, and stupid. It's not a form of hate speech. I don't hate people in New Orleans. I think the people that built New Orleans, they're dead and aren't alive and probably were like actually horrible people or may not have been of the best character because back in the day, a lot of people were racist and hate-filled and they were very tribal. So, I mean, like, to sit here and say, like I'm offending anyone who matters, it's stupid. You live there now, it's not your fault. But you also can't blame me and try to make me do something to fix your problems, Because your problems ain't going to get fixed for like the next 30 years. You're going to have to deal with this for quite a fucking while. And it's not like anything I'm going to do going to fucking help, But again, they have these weird, arbitrary bullshit. I want to enforce how I feel like, so that way that, I can ban whoever the fuck I feel like, whenever I feel like, for whatever reason I feel like. And that becomes an issue. Especially on content you're missing out on. Like, the website itself just misses out on content that could be good or interesting. It still keeps a little bit of it. I think, some of the political debate it still allows some of the people, it still allows as guests on certain things like Nick Fuentes and allows people to come and dunk on him or debate him is still a good idea. But the problem is when you censor it, when you censor the topic so much, the only people that will debate him or that really even can have a conversation with him without risking their brand or channel are the people that are just going to agree with him 100%. Because you can keep it pretty milquetoast that way and keep it away from censorship once, and that becomes problem, because now I can't confront this guy on what he talks about off platform that he can't talk about on platform that he's wrong about, but we can talk about some shit that we both barely know anything about, and he can seem right just because we're both talking about a topic we're not knowledgeable about, because we have to debate in other areas now, because the area that I want to debate this guy in isn't fucking allowed on YouTube. And it's just like, you're creating your own echo chamber and promotion of bad content problems yourself with what you do. It's very simple. It's a simple, and then you look at censorship when it comes to I killed you with an explosive suicide C4, brother. Can you hear me? Brother, can you hear me? I killed you with explosive C4. I think he killed himself. But look, it's the reason it's a problem is because you're going to start removing counter voices. Like, people can't make counter arguments now. Now the problem is like, I can't, what's it good? Here's a good one. I can't, let's say, you know, all political topics get banned. We're gonna make an example here that isn't, well, you know, let's go with one that's actually real. Okay, here, I got one. So, there are specific people and relationships that have relationships with the government that you're not allowed to speak about on YouTube. Even mentioning their name gets you fucking yeeted. And that's a problem, because then you can't criticize the government and the wrong things they're doing. Like, imagine if the people that encouraged us to invade fucking Iraq and lied about weapons of mass destruction weren't allowed to be talked about. And they probably can't be, to a degree. Like, you get, like, to a degree, you're not allowed to talk about it, because after a certain point, it's somehow considered conspiracy. But we know that they lied about WMDs. We know that they brought us into Iraq and all that shit under the guise that there were nuclear weapons, but there weren't. And if we're not allowed to talk about things like that, who pays for those lies? Where does that get released? You know, you come to things like news, which now is facing the same problem, because it's facing serious partisanship, where people won't talk about things that don't have to do good on their party. So you can't actually have debate with the source of the problem, right? Because one party won't interact with the other party, one side won't interact with the other side. So the dude who's at the head of the problem on this side, he's going to sit here and say, well, my side's right. You're just going to run around and scream that your side's right. And then everybody has to pick a side, and instead of actually seeing them go head to head and have some sort of battle of wits, facts, or otherwise. And now what you're left is two echo chambers where two sides of people won't listen to the other side because they believe everything they have to say is a lie. And you can't censor heavy one way or the other without becoming that sort of problem where people aren't going to be able to hear the things they need to hear about the other side of the topic. I think a good example of this for me personally, while I don't agree with the streamer Destiny, he came up with a lot of good counterpoints to things that I had questions about when it came to the right wing in politics. Just things that, like, I could never get a straight answer or any form of answer in places, and he'd give me at least a better one usually most of the time, or I'd find he'd have a better answer, or at least the beginnings of, or the place to research to find the answer, or the beginnings of the solution, rather than no solution at all. Or just ignoring the problem, or talking around the problem, or this, that, or the other thing. And I think if you look at, like, how Twitch banned him, but YouTube allowed him, you know, Twitch lost the ability to have counterpoints to right-wing topics that actually made right-wingers think, because they kicked off a guy who, on the left, was too right for them. Because he didn't agree with the whole trans movement self-ID shit. What you are perfectly allowed to say on YouTube, that you, because, I mean, I know it's bullshit. I believe trans people deserve rights, but self-ID is just, what's it called? Fucking multi-personality disorder 2.0, right? So that whole thing where everybody had multi-personality or bipolar, and they just use it as, like, excuses for being shitty people. Hey, man, take me somewhere I can bomb people. I got a suicide bomb. I want to suicide bomb somebody, yeah. You did an amazing job that one time at bro. I hopped into a building and blew someone up. So we're working good here. We're doing good here. Just need some more good work from you. But yeah, it creates the echo chamber. Then it throws you out of being able to have those counterpoints, and then those people that make the good counterpoints, they get banned, right? So then, you know, what happens after you don't have anyone left to be able to counterpoint those people that you want to have like that sort of pushback on? Is they don't have anyone to really give a real solution to the problem you have with them, and they just kind of create an echo chamber. Now, one of the main issues with echo chambers is the distrust of the other side. So people, even on the right, will scream at Destiny, or say, who's someone else that's... Oh, yeah, Bill Maher is another guy that's coming more towards the right, or saying right-wing things, I guess, in the political space. And, you know, people will attack these people still on the right because everything's become so tribal, and you know, they've seen all these things where people ban their political speaking heads, and, well, they ban their political speaking heads, and, you know, now they think that it's a personal attack. And then the other side, you'll see, you know, people that the left want put down or censored, won't get censored, or they will, and they'll either cheer or they'll cry about it, right? So like when Trump came back to YouTube, or came back to Twitter, everybody cried. Or when Elon Musk took over Twitter, they all cry. It's this like nature that like, you have to make this big stink about everything that you specifically don't agree with. You can't come at it with facts. You have to come at it with emotions. And it becomes this sort of emotional bid to appeal to people's emotional triggers and impulsive thoughts based on emotional triggers, like, say, they don't like Trump or they don't like Biden. You know, BDS or TDS are very real things. Biden or Trump derangement syndrome, where you become completely deranged about this person because they're on the opposite political spectrum, and you can't deal with with things about them because you just see them as like this all-encompassing evil. If you were to ask your average, you know, person on the right side of the spectrum, they'd say some sort of pedophile groomer. He's got some creepy ass shit with kids. I'll give you that, but there's no real evidence that the guy is a pedophile. There's no way he's not fucking on the list of Epstein. The only thing we have is the weird shit where he likes to fucking sniff kids. And I don't know what I can't call that pedophilia. Sorry, I could just say he's fucking creepy because he does it to adult women too. I don't know. You know, again, that's not evidence. That's just like, you know, if like a kid comes over and talks to some random adult in a park, and they keep continuing, the adult keeps continuing the conversation too far and actually engaging in it with some random child. That's creepy. That's not like a proof that they're a fucking pedophile. They're just weird. So again, like because I mean, the same thing could be said that, you know, Trump was on the Epstein list. I mean, what are you gonna do about that? You know, you can't prove he's a pedophile, just like you can't prove all the other people on the list are a pedophile. I think the people that visit the most can be under suspicion. You could say, hey, you know, I think that's evidence that they were probably doing something shady, but you don't have the actual evidence of them doing the shady thing. That's why probably most people didn't get prosecuted for the fucking Epstein shit. But I also don't think the Department of Defense dug too hard. I don't think I don't think the FBI or the CIA or anybody dug that hard. They could have probably dug harder, and they just didn't because they already had issues. Oh, he just suicided us. You know, in their midst of trying to deal with the whole Hunter Biden thing, and then all the election shit and all the. They were like, you know what? We'll just let this thing that makes most of our congressmen and politicians look bad. We'll let that go over there, even if it has to do with fucking kids. You know. I don't think they're particularly interested in catching anybody because they would have had to catch way too many people from America, and it wouldn't have looked good on them either. They probably would have had to catch people inside their own fucking department. But if you look at, you know, just also the fact that let's talk about Trump derangement syndrome a little bit. You know, on the sense they're both right, but the point of derangement is where it becomes wrong, because Trump is an egotistical fucking dickhead who has literally said he wants to suspend the Constitution, which is that's a wild fucking statement coming from a guy on the right. That's fucking wild. Like, look, man, I'm cool with like fucking, you know, not having completely open borders and shit like that. I just think that like we should make the process of becoming or getting over here a lot easier, or find a way to make it easier, or maybe we hire legals to help the process at the border goers, or even make like a border town where they can be safe at the border while getting their process through for a couple of years. They can work and have like their own market there. That's what I think the solution is, because you can't really have a country where you can just let people in their borders, because then you can just be invaded by letting a bunch of people walk across. Now, eventually, if something like that really did happen, I don't doubt that the Department of Homeland Security would fucking probably, you know, try to stop it. But at the same time, it can do stuff like the whole fentanyl crisis. Like, you can let that across the border pretty easily, being shipped, and we know it's being shipped from China and shit. But that doesn't mean we shouldn't allow asylees. I see a lot of people get upset with asylees. I also see these stupid political stunts where they send illegal immigrants to places, like they send them to the States, like that say they would harbor them, which I kind of understand to a degree. But I think the better political move, instead of just fucking shipping them there like an asshole, would have been to constantly request, hey, we're getting a fuck ton of migrants. We can't hold them all. We need to send them to some of these other states, and start requesting, hey, can we get help here? Can we get help there? You know, go to the states and say, oh, we're open borders. We'll take in any immigrants, and then go to those states publicly and request it. And when they deny you, you turn around and say, hey. But I also think there's a lot of states that wouldn't. There's possibly states that would, you know, there's a couple of your elitist politicians out there that'd be like, go fuck yourself. But I feel like most states would probably take that as a what's it called, a PR move, and they'd probably take in at least a few. But you know, it'd be a good way to find the ones who deny you, or if they all just do deny you, be like, hey, look, these people aren't really about solving the border problem. They just want to ship it on to me. They don't care what happens to the border because they're not a border state, so they just want to say this stuff because it's popular and it gets them votes. But when it comes down to push a shove, they don't have to make policy or do anything about it. And I think it's a very fair criticism when it comes to the border. But I also think it's unfair to say that we should just lock people the fuck out, because I've seen where these people can get a little iffy removing people that want to be asylees, just because the country they come from can be relatively safe. Like, can be, because Mexico can be relatively safe. That doesn't fucking mean it is. The cartel has a lot of problems out there. And I don't know if you've seen the new shit that's going on, but they got these violent cartels that have been trained by special forces operators from America. So, I mean, that's a whole new branded problem, and to say that these people don't deserve some sort of right to asylum is wrong. But also to just let them in, no bars crossed. Also, the whole thing where the people coming into the country didn't need COVID shots. There are times you can see bias. And I think it goes the other way, too, because I feel like I'm talking too much about the left, because I used to have a real hard thing against the left, and I know a lot of the shit from the time that I was really hard against them. But if you look at the right, you know, they're always banning stuff nowadays. Like, if you just look, their solution, everything is ban, ban, ban. I think the transgender shit is like one of the number one. They ban that shit. And it's like, I get it for kids to a degree, but you should put it under child abuse law, because what happens is, you know, you're going to create like an activist moment. You're going to create a whole movement from banning these things outright, because then they're gonna call Nazi and say it's authoritarianism or whatever the fuck. And you're not going to really get anything done. You're not going to get any further. You're going to just hurt yourself at the end of the day. And that's kind of the problem. But also, I think something is wrong when we say, hey, you know, this person is not able to have sex, but they can change their sex. Doesn't really make much sense. But I've read the studies that show shit. That it can be, it's an effective treatment. Like the whole transitioning is an effective treatment for transgender people. It's just, I think, sadly enough, I think because they make up 0.1% of the population, or 0.2, or whatever the fuck you think it is, it's a very small percentage. It's not a high percentage. It's not a high percentage at all. But they make up a very small portion of the population, actual transitioning people, and it does work for them. But even if one person is disaffected by this whole child movement stuff that isn't a trans person, I think it completely invalidates their so-called pushing of a right. Like the whole thing where kids are taking advantage of each other in schools and stuff by using this little arbitrary I'm a girl thing. Sorry, but in that case, the people that are non-trans are more important, because you, as a minority, are getting, like, you're getting so much extra privilege that your privilege now steps upon the rights of other people. And where that is women have a right to privacy away from men, or from violation in a bathroom space. And I mean, we've had children now that have this. I mean, I think there's been like 4 or 5 cases I literally have sitting here on my phone. I don't want to go through it because Twitch is sensitive about that stuff. If they ban me for saying this shit, I don't really care. I'm trying to keep it milk toast for the most part. Now, do I think that we need to, like, ban these people or, like, hate on them or something? No. I think that the problem is just no one has, like, a real conversation. It's like, hey, man, you have a problem. Wow. Okay, that did not go as planned. But, like, I think the idea is, hey, man, you have a problem, obviously, some sort of mental affliction, whether it be actual gender dysphoria or not. You know, put the person in therapy, and if they truly feel they have gender dysphoria, you know, they should be able to dress, act, go by their little pronouns if whatever, you know, as long as it's not fake. I don't believe in none of that fake pronoun stuff, because that doesn't exist. But, you know, they can act how they want. It's just the problem of allowing them to go through the full sex change, or even the hormones. Hormones don't sterilize anybody. That's some fucking. I mean, like, I think even the amount of people who just have, like, reproduction problems afterwards is very low. It's not. It doesn't sterilize even a slight or a large minority of people. So it's not really to worry about that. But what it does do, for certain, is it changes your fucking physiology. Like, you don't look the same. You don't sound the same. Everything about you is different, from your looks to your speech, to just how your body grows. And let's say 1 out of 100 people want to detransition. Well, I'm sorry, you put a non-trans person, a person who wasn't actually trans, like they were just mentally ill, they just had problems, and you said, hey, let's give this person drugs and allow them to medically transition. And now they go to detransition. They didn't get the full surgery, but they did the hormones. And now they don't look like the gender that they used to be. Like, they let's say they start as a female. They don't look or sound like a regular female anymore. Their looks are off. They're underdeveloped in things and stuff like that. And then now you have this person who is now severely, horribly affected in their life, due to something that sort of became a trend now. Because this used to not really be a problem. This used to not really be... Oh, fuck, we're stuck. This used to not really be a problem. What the fuck are we stuck on? It used to not really be a problem when we had... It used to not really be a problem when we didn't have, like, all these people wanting to be trans. But now they're like 10, 15, 20% of the population of young people say they're trans. It is an issue. It's like if well, I mean, it'd be the same thing if he was gay, you know? Like, imagine if every generation there was more and more and more and more gay people, to the point that we were, like, depopulating as a planet, you know? are we just gonna waltz over and die? And what if we also find out that people are going along with it as a trend? We can't prove it's everybody, but we can prove that people are still doing it. What do you do there? Something has to be done. I think the best thing is to deal in the world of psychology and deal from a psychological perspective, not banning people, not banning this, not banning that, not getting so fucking legal with it, but first dealing with it from a psychological perspective. I think that's the only way you can deal with it. You can't just run around and let people do whatever the fuck they want underage. When they're adult, that's a different thing. But I see people make this argument: a 14-year-old doesn't know they're trans. There's a difference between a 14 and 18-year-old knowing they're trans. I would assume there is. I'd assume there's quite a fucking difference. I mean, a 14-year-old. It can't even determine why it's bad. I mean, let's look at something here that people don't talk about that often. There was a TikTok that went viral in 2017 of like two 13-year-old girls bragging about using sex with overage men, like older men. One was a teacher, one was her father's friend, to get things they fucking wanted. And I'm just like, people at that age don't think properly. We have hormonal imbalances already, and you want to add more to the process? It's not a fucking good idea. But that doesn't mean you need to make a fucking Nazi law based around it that has 15 other stipulations that have nothing to do with transism, which a couple of states have done. And it's like people will take it's here's a great example. They'll do the same shit with the trans bills that the whole government tries to do with the Protect the Kids Act, or like the Ban TikTok Act, where the Save the Kids Act, and they try to censor the whole internet, and they stick it under this other bullshit. People do that shit with the pro-trans stuff and the non-trans, or the anti-trans stuff. And that's why it becomes such a problem when you lead it into like political, legal binding, is you can sneak a bunch of other shit in there and use this controversial topic to wash over it. So that's why I don't like the idea of putting it into law. But I also think that it should definitely, like, allowing your kid to physically transition should be considered a fucking form of child abuse.
Do you feel good about yourself, man?
Yes, I do. I feel very good about myself. How do you feel about me? I feel very good about myself, friend. How do you feel? How do you feel about me? I can't tell if people can hear me or in game anymore or not. Do they change it so the squad isn't in person anymore? The squad no longer speak to people around you. Let's kill this guy. But yeah, and then when you create this echo chamber, people now, like on Twitch, can't have full-on discussions about this shit from like other perspectives. And so, people on the right are going to start, they start calling all gay and lesbian people, don't even have to do with the trans movement, groomers and shit. They're like, oh, that's been the goal the whole time. They just want to groom the children. Well, as a bisexual guy, gay and lesbian people that I've met, they don't want to groom your children. They don't give a fuck about your children. Actually, there are plenty that agree that this is fucking wacko. And it starts to spread. You've created an echo chamber. These people feel like they're being censored. They can't even talk about this topic. It's so hush-hush, untouchy-touchy. These people have this, like, special protection that no one else has. And so they feel like a special class, almost even higher than the elite class in the country. So the right's gonna, and the right, the people who, obviously are on the other side of this, they're gonna, go too far the other way. And like I said, calling people groomers, wanting to remove all gay LGBTQ stuff. I mean, I can't even begin to explain how I've seen so much just gay and bi sentiment begin because of this goofy trans shit. And now everybody just loops them all together because of the whole movement. So, in this case, censorship is just
I think
destroying
it's like
the
he
whole
doesn't have
space as
his
a
mic on
whole.
again.
No, I do. It's a podcast, brother. I'm glad people can still hear me. It's the Battlebit podcast, brother. Welcome to the podcast. But it's just, so censorship does these fucking weird things. They create more toxicity in these spaces because people can't get out the thoughts they want to speak and then have calm, like a calm criticism or a calm pushback. Everyone's just screaming at them or calling them names or saying that they're the most evil person on the planet. So, one side doesn't want to listen to the other because you're a Nazi in this person's eyes, and then the other person comes to, well, you're the one that wants to like deal with children or something, and it becomes this weird and goofy argument back and forth where both sides are doing something wrong, and nobody wants to admit what their side's doing wrong, but they want to focus completely on the other person doing something wrong. It's honestly insanity. It's straight insanity. And I don't understand why it's so wanted by people in specific political spaces. Like, I'm not talking about like it's not that you can't say that every fucking CEO wants it. But it's almost like the people in the political sides, they want it. They want to censor the other side really hard in both ways. Like how Trump talked about how he wanted to fucking suspend the Constitution because of the media law, and there's like so many people that are like, yeah, that's great. But the right, always claims to be that constitutionalist, got to keep that constitutional Second Amendment. I mean, you suspend the Constitution, that's gone, stupid. So it's this weird, and then, on the other side, we're so anti-war on the left. Everyone's so anti-war, right? But if the war fits our needs, throw whatever the fuck you want at it. It's weird. And I understand, definitely Ukraine was a conflict that we should be supporting to a degree because, one, we promised to. Okay, we did promise to support them. But we gave them $800 billion. Why didn't we just buy their equipment? Why do governments do this? Why when you take the taxes from a company, you take it from them, then redistribute it how you please? That shit shouldn't happen. We should just be like, hey, we're going to buy you this stuff from this country. They're going to ship it to you. And we're going to make sure you get your product, or we're going to go complain to that fucking country. It's simple as that.
Richard, I feel...
You don't need to be sending direct cash to a fucking, to our allies to help support them. I love sending equipment. Gets it tested in the field, lets us know what our technology is capable of, lets us know how good it is against other people's technology, which we found out we're on fucking top. We're going to be on top for a while. But, there's no reason to send direct cash. We can buy their supplies for them, food supplies. I don't understand why we're one of the biggest exporters in the world. If they need to buy food, let's send it to them. I'm fine with sending them food. Because I know they're going to eat the damn food. You can't take food and turn around and spend it on your own personal fucking mansion. But you can if I send you $8 billion or $800 billion. You can spend it on whatever the fuck you want, right? And I remember seeing Zelensky like dancing with one of them javelins for like a propaganda piece, and I'm like, dude, you this looks stupid, It looks stupid. Bad optics. How about you just ask us instead of don't send us more money. Just send us supplies. Stop sending your money. Zelensky would probably get a lot more fucking support from the right if he was like, we don't need your money. Aww. We need your food and ammo. Send us food and ammo. We need food and ammo. Not fucking money. What do we? When you send us money, it's going to take us time to get the money, and then we got to take the money, give it to somebody else, and that takes time. They have to process that and then send us the supplies when you could have got the fucking process started in the first place. But, because of censorship, I'm not allowed to speak about this kind of stuff. And we'll see if this episode gets banged, because I'll talk about all kinds of shit that's right on the line. But I'll try to talk about it in a fair and absolute way. Because it's absolute bullshit. We send them cash, when we're especially when the left supports we're supposed to be this anti-war nation. It's like, yeah, we should be helping them defend. But why do we send cash? You know, what's the purpose of sending cash when we could just fucking pay the people they're gonna pay with the cash, unless they're using it for something else? You know, it's a simple concept. I don't get how it runs by people's heads. I don't get why it's so iffy, hush, taboo. I don't know why it needs to be censored. I can understand if you're trying to, say that they deserve no help, which some people do say, but I also think you have a right to say that. It's just you shouldn't be saying that they don't deserve it because they're bad people or something. It's that. Because people like to bring up the fucking Nazi group. They're people fighting for their country. Who cares if they're Nazis or not? Like, you think I'm gonna give a fuck if I'm fighting next to some, like, let's say we get invaded tomorrow, bro. If I'm fighting against some white skin or some skinhead they just let out of jail, or like some, like, I don't know, Arabian Brotherhood guy who believes that all white people are infidels. If he's still fighting on my side, I mean, that's my brother at the moment. Like, he's fighting. We're both fighting to live in the same fucking country. It's like there are people in these countries that you're gonna disagree with, or that you're gonna have moral disagreements with. That doesn't mean they don't have the right to fight for their fucking home or be a part of the goddamn fight. It's just a stupid thing to bring up. I don't see where anyone's logic is when they try to bring up that shit. But I do understand the whole why send money? Why send so much money? Why not just equipment? I understand there is a little bit of a game you have to play to a certain extent with the whole sending over equipment, just like it was in World War II, where we didn't want to fully commit because it'd be considered an act of war. But I thought we would have learned by now. Like, from the First World War, the issue is that these people were genociding, but we couldn't see it. We can see what they're doing now. We know they're loading trucks full of civilians and murdering civilians and taking kids and putting them into re-education camps. No matter what anyone wants to say, that shit's happening. We know it's happening. We can see that it's happening. And it's a problem. And we should be more than happy to help solve that problem, because it's very similar to that World War II issue we had. So I do understand wanting to support fucking Ukraine. I definitely do. But again, I should also be allowed to criticize how we send that support, or what support we send. It's my fucking country, especially if it's my tax dollar, or my tax dollar on the military equipment. Fucking, I should be allowed to throw a few criticisms. That's one of the great things about what's supposed to be about this country, is I could say, hey, I disagree with how you're running things. And I don't know. I think that kind of censorship is stupid. I think it does nothing but bolster the other side. Nick Fuentes being one of the great examples. But again, you do need to censor to an extent with porn and even certain speech and shit. It's just that we're in a kind of sticky position, because if you were to have a online website free speech that was held by the constitutional laws, you'd have gore and fucking porn on there all over the place, and take over the website. So I think a rating system, giving like ratings out to advertisers for videos, or like rating videos for the advertisers, so that they're within, like, you have a rating system where this video is under this certain rating, so this advertiser says he's okay with these ratings, but that rating is too high for him, so his stuff doesn't show up on that video or any videos that have that rating. And you'd have like a list of rules, low swearing, high swearing, no cussing, completely kid friendly, completely just like that kind of stuff. You'd have that be your descriptors. Is it low swearing? Is it high swearing? Does it deal with controversial topics? Does it deal with controversial political topics, or controversial race or gender topics? Or toward the gender shit topics. Does it include any of these? And you consider them all under a specific rating, and then you'd have your ratings for your swearing, your non-swearing, your violence content, stuff that has severe violence, like video game violence. But there should be stuff that would be rated, IRL violence or video game violence, like simulated violence. So you'd have to have different ratings for those. You can even have them be like little tags that get added to your video, or you add to your own video based on a descriptor, and you have to choose them for your video before you publish it, right? And if you choose it wrong, you try to abuse the system, you get banned and shit, obviously. But, you know, I think the rating system for advertisers is a much better way to go when it comes to trying to find a way to let, you know, us be able to have free speech on these type of open platforms, but still keeping it so that advertisers can choose what kind of content they want their advertising on. And I don't see how no one's ever thought of that as a solution. It seems like most of the solutions for most of the websites is just panic and fix it right now and worry about the problems that are caused by your quick fix later, or don't even address them at all and just fucking keep on going. You fix the problem, just continue on to making more money. And I didn't even know YouTube was fucking profitable. But the fact that YouTube is profitable is astonishing to me. It's astonishing to me. Because how the fuck do you got such a big website? So many fucking videos. How much it must cost to upkeep this bullshit? All these systems.
You got that sneaky corpse.
And you're censoring like 80% of the content. Well, no. You're censoring like 30% of the content that could be on this website. Yet somehow you're still making a fucking profit? That's still pretty impressive. So they're at least doing a good job on the back end, and I feel like if they open this up as an option, they'd have even more ability to be able to generate, you know, money off of content. Because then advertisers that are okay with risque content can choose to advertise on that content also through YouTube. Because now what they do is they go directly to the YouTuber or person they want to advertise through, and they say, hey, I'm okay with your content, I want to advertise through you, but they don't have a way to do that where YouTube, it's through YouTube. And if they did, YouTube would probably make instantly more money. And they can keep away from the same controversy as long as they keep updating the rating system and keep it, you know, try to keep it as good as it can and keep doing improvements on it. And don't just let it die by the wayside. You're obviously going to need to do improvements on it because people are going to figure out ways to you know, beat the system. They always do. Anytime you create a system that's meant to inhibit humans, they always figure out a way around it. It's just sort of a fact of life. So I think, like, if we want to even consider this as being a possibility of being a permanent solution, they can't abandon it if it's not perfect immediately. They'd have to keep working on it until they found a proper way and a proper amount of ratings / tags and including them all, you know, in a way that fits the content, allows there to be content and is fair to the creator, but is also informative to the advertiser. And that's why, you know. That's why television kind of did something like that, but the problem with television is you have to, like, count the swear words. It gets too specific, like with the number of words you can say, how much of a thing you could talk about, how much kissing or boob or blah, 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 blah. That's super overly unnecessarily restrictive. I think it's always been super overly unnecessarily restrictive. Like, counting the amount of swear words you have in a fucking movie or show is dumb. It's fucking dumb. And it really all comes back to our, like, Christian panic origins. It really just comes from Christian fucking panic bullshit. It really isn't, like, relevant anymore. And the fact that we still adhere to these stupid television rules is probably just one of the worst things about our society that has to do with censorship. It's just ridiculous. I mean, there's no reason that we need to be counting fucking swear words in 2023. Every kid has access to the internet. They've all seen a boob by the age of 4, and if they haven't, their parents are so overly fucking restrictive that they're gonna grow up fucked up in the head. So, I mean, we need to learn to be a little more lax. I understand protecting children a certain way, but there's also a certain degree where protecting them fucking hurts them, and I think that's kind of happened with the movies. And it's like you can't show teenagers certain content, and it's rated T for teen, so has to count swear words and be super fucking retarded with their topics. And I just, it's so restrictive. It removes the ability to be creative. It removes the quality of the entertainment. So I can't get behind it. I don't think it's any good. And I think it goes nowhere. It does nothing for us. It's really an empty fucking vessel of fucking just trying to protect people from something that they're going to have to face, and if they don't, it's going to leave them with issues. Because we don't, I mean, I think the problem is we just don't maturely teach our kids how to handle shit. We don't teach anyone how to handle anything. in any sense of the word. We don't prepare our children for shit. We try to protect them from it. We don't guide them through stuff. We try to command them. And I don't know how we're still kind of in that thing. Because honestly, this wouldn't be a problem with the transgender people if we were a little bit more guiding with our kids as well. Because then, you know,
We weren't living, were we, boys?
you know, it's just if we could just have a space where it's just more of a trying to help them find solutions to their problems instead of trying to solve it for them. Kids would honestly be a lot better off anywhere in society, in the world. It just wouldn't be such a fucking issue, and we wouldn't be having all these fucking you know, sensitivity and offense problems today if people were learned how or were taught how to fucking deal with shit instead of being considered have to be protected from everything. People don't need protected from everything. They need to learn how to deal with things, because otherwise they're going to not be able to deal with the real world. And that's going to become a problem very quickly.
He's literally right in front of us.
You know what? I don't really have much more to say on the censorship stuff. It just creates echo chamber of I'm offended, weak people who can't handle the real world and won't be able to operate in other countries or with other countries. And we're eventually gonna, you know, if we keep down this thing where we're always offended by everything, we're gonna isolate ourselves as a country.
You scared me.
We're gonna isolate ourselves as a people. Or we're just gonna isolate one side of the world from the other. Like, it's gonna be the West versus the East, you know? It's gonna be the Middle Eastern countries and Russia and China versus fucking America and Europe. And we're never gonna have any cohesion again. And that's gonna become a problem, because then the world is not gonna be able to operate without threat of war, without threat of violence, or without constantly competing into destruction of one another. If we can keep it economic competing, we'd probably be fine, but I highly doubt it's going to stay at economics. I think it like the whole goal is going to be to take over these other countries. I think even for America, we want to take over Russia and this Ukraine war. Like, the leaders that are actually perpetuated, they want to be able to have control of Russia and basically be part of its, you know, revolution into a democracy. Be able to control those resources and stuff for a bit of time while that transition happens, and be able to create either puppet or ally governments that they can have more hand of a fist onto. Because we do use our power in our little alliance to kind of manhandle our allies and shit, and it can be like a serious issue, even if we just don't pay attention to it. Yeah, that's all I really have to say. I mean, America is becoming a really heavily censored country on the internet, and it's conflicting with our values off the internet, and we have to kind of learn how to balance that. Play those games.
They're above us on the silo thing.
Or else we're just gonna all collapse into echo chambers on each other. It's not good. I just want
Hello, please no.
Sorry. Dude, this is amazing. Well, that's definitely gonna be a fucking battle. That's definitely gonna be a fucking clip. Holy shit! I was just fucking lining up the kills right there. I think that's what we're just gonna try to do. Try to line up some kills, some plays, have some fun. Let's talk about ourselves. Let's talk about Well, I guess continuing on the topic of censorship, we can talk about how we self-censor ourselves for society. You know, I think self-censorship would be more considered, try not to swear, trying not to piss people off by talking about certain things. Like, if you ever think about, like, when you have conversations with people, you usually have to censor yourself for certain people on certain topics. You can't talk about certain things with people. Like, say, like, a woman's had a rape or some shit. You don't want to talk about a topic of sex, rape, or forced sexual interactions. So we do censorship, like, in real life and to it, but I think one of the big problems people have is, like, we have control over certain parts of that censorship, right? So we have control over, we have, like, the ability to decide ourselves, like, what kind of nuance and how much of an approach we want to take to that censorship, while when it's being taken away from us, we feel like we're not being given an option, we're being commanded in a sort of sense. But, I mean, censorship, sadly, is necessary, and no matter what you do, you're going to need to censor something. So, we can't run around and scream like, oh, everything has to be completely fair and open and 100% free and open. But we definitely, for sure, can go further than we already go, and that's part of the problem. We don't go very far when it comes to trying to censor things. We don't really do a good job at all trying to keep things uncensored, and we try to go for censorship more than we go against it, it would seem, in the modern era. Oh, that's a good hit. How the fuck is that guy still alive? Oh, no, he's not. Look at what's going on around here. They're fucking coming around about to kill everybody. Oh, they're reviving them. I gotta come back and do another bomb. I gotta come back and do another bombing run. Boom, got him again. Shit, how many was that? Was that 5 or 4? That's 4. Dude, this gives you so much fucking XP. Alright, boys, well, we're just under an hour. We're gonna hop off here. This is gonna be the end of the thing. I just wanted to kind of replace number 5, get some thoughts out about censorship. My goal is to come back next Tuesday. If not, I'll be back sooner. My hope is to either have a topic on the Roman history, and how Christianity became, like, part of Rome and shit, from being persecuted by it, and, or it's gonna be a topic on, I'm not sure. I have to look at some of the names. I don't know if we did, I don't know if we did, fucking the importance of routines in psychology, in self-improvement at all. I don't think we did. So we might do something around routines in psychology and how to get into habits and stuff as well. It might be another side thing to do, but we'll figure it out. Anyways, boys, hope you enjoyed. See you in the next one.